Mac and cheese. Easy. You boil some noodles, you make a roux, you add some milk, you add some cheese, put it all together, you bake it if you're feeling really fancy, and you profit. Easy, right? Wrong. Mac and cheese is a dastardly difficult dish. Triple D. Didn't even mean to do that. Didn't even desire to do that. Mac and cheese is hard, okay? It's hard. It's hard because so many different things can go wrong. You can end up with overcooked floppy pasta. You can end up with a grainy sauce or a split sauce or not enough sauce. Today I'm going to examine all the possible pitfalls of mac and cheese so you don't have to make the same mistakes. Let's get started. So this dish is called mac and cheese, right? I got my mac, I got my cheese. What else is there to do, right? I mean, you just add the cheese to the mac. It's simple arithmetic. All right, mixing it up. Okay. This doesn't look so hot. I think I've made a mistake. There's clumps and gumps and dumps and trumps. Good Lord, the strings. Well, I heard mac and cheese, and damn it, that's what I did. I made mac, I added cheese, end of story. Cooking video over. Would you look at the strings? Would you look at the spider webs that creates? Look at that. It's rather beautiful in an odd way, like a tornado or Rip Torn.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge mac and cheese.
Yeah, it's a hassle to eat for a few reasons. The problem with just adding cheese to macaroni, other than it being kind of insane, on macaroni, it's this wet environment that has this just gloopy cheese element added to it that glues itself to the back of your teeth. And also reads as oily. This should be patently obvious, but I've seen people do this. I've done it myself. I was a child at one time, and I definitely did this. And I liked it, but you know, you grow up eventually, so I've heard. Okay, so yeah, you can't just mix macaroni and cheese together. Doesn't work. You need a medium. Yeah, right? That's what you call it? Medium. You need a medium, okay?
Why do you need to have your mind read? That's not what mediums do?
No, they don't. They're a connection to people who have passed on to another plane of existence.
She's right, you know.
Why do you need to talk to someone who's passed away?
I'm sure I have no idea what you're talking about. So to make this kind of mac and cheese, the first thing you have to do is make a bechamel. And it's the first place that you can screw up because it's very, very easy to screw up a bechamel. I've screwed up a lot of them, and I'm gonna do so now. Join me. Butter, get this melted and foamy. As soon as it's melted, add the flour. This is pretty much equal parts flour and butter. You want your roux to be nice and thick like this, but not chunky or pasty, and at the same time not thin or drippy. And we're gonna cook it for about 1 minute. This is to get rid of the raw flour flavor and develop a little bit of toasty niceness. So now we have a nice foamy cooked roux. It's been cooking for about 1 minute. And now I'm gonna add the milk. And this is where you can screw up real fast. So I'm gonna add it too fast. That's precisely how I'm gonna screw it up. There we go. If you add the milk too fast, as I just did to a cartoonish extent, you will find that you end up with an extremely lumpy bechamel. And this one's so, oh, you can see in the bottom there, check that out. Look at them lumps, look at them lumps and clumps. So, you got a lumpy roux. Is your life over? Not quite yet, because you can rescue it using either a blender or an immersion blender. Oop, very careful, yep, careful, 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 careful. There it is, that's what I'm looking for. There we go. I'm doing them both sides to make sure that if there's any lumps on the bottom of the pot, I'm catching them. And look at that, we're back to smooth. Might as well just do it this way. It's way easier than whisking and slowly straight. I'd rather do this. Just do this. It's not even a screw up, it's a hack. So if you have a lumpy bechamel, you can fix it with an immersion blender or by tossing it into a blender and blending it. And you can fix it. Wow. What a beautiful, beautiful mac and cheese. I can't wait to eat some. Should I just dig in? I think I should just have some. Wow. Wow. Let's see what it looked. Oh dear. Oh my. That can't be right. That's not mac and cheese.
I think you used the wrong noodle.
I've used the wrong noodle. This is what Brad wanted this. I don't see the utility to showing this. We just wasted half a pound of noodles, but here, look, wrong noodle. And there's an actual lesson to be learned here, believe it or not. Yes, obviously you should not use linguine in mac and cheese, but there's plenty of other shapes that you oughtn't use. I would not recommend using farfalle or bow tie noodles. Those are just pretty unseemly and a little ungainly and come on. Bad. But really what you want is you want something that hangs on to sauce, okay? There's an argument to be made for penne because it's ridged and it can hang on to sauce a little bit. You know, if you start using ziti or anything that's completely flat and smooth, it's not gonna hang on to the sauce and you're not gonna have as good of a time. You want something that you can eat that's bite-sized, you know, it's giant pieces, it's gonna be harder to put in your mouth, especially when it's steaming hot out of the oven. Like, this is hard to eat. Another thing you want to consider is the pasta's texture. Again, this is the wrong pasta shape, but I just want to illustrate a concept. You might notice that these two pastas are a radically different color and texture. And this is important. You want a pasta with rougher texture. Usually this is referred to as cut with a bronze die. If you see bronze die anywhere on the package, you're gonna find a rough sandpaper-like pasta. If it's really smooth like this, two things are gonna happen. First off, it's not gonna leach as much starch into the pasta cooking water. And pasta cooking water, as we're gonna show you, is very helpful in creating a cohesive sauce. And the rough texture is also gonna help hang on to sauce. So you want it for two reasons. It's gonna cost a little bit more, but just try not to use the 59-cent stuff because it's just not gonna work as well. Here's a mistake I didn't even intend. Overfilling. Don't overfill. Pretty obvious. You'd think I wouldn't do it when I wasn't even trying to demonstrate. I was trying to, this was on purpose. This was a purposeful lesson to all of us. I think we can all, and that's a tune we can all dance to.
Did you really need to do this, Andrew?
Yes, how else are they gonna know that you shouldn't overfill your mac and cheese? How else could I possibly have conveyed that? I'm listening.
I don't know, I mean, we just started it all different. The text graphic for this one was different. We said we were gonna mess it up with overcooked noodles.
Brad, this is a show about mistakes. Are we not allowed to make mistakes in a show about mistakes?
So it was a mistake.
Yes. So, I'm cooking my pasta for my mac and cheese, and it's cooked exactly to my preferred level of doneness. So, I'm gonna dump it in the cheese sauce, mix it up, throw it in the oven. Should be fine, right? Right? Well, this is a handsome mac and cheese again. I don't see what could possibly be wrong with this one. The sauce looks good and good, and there's noodles, and oh boy, that's a soft noodle. Oh, it's so mushy, it's so mushy, it's so mashy. It's because these noodles were cooked to the correct doneness before being put in the oven. You need to undercook your pasta if you're baking your mac and cheese because it's gonna spend 30, 45 minutes in there. It's gonna soak up more cheese sauce, it's gonna soak up more moisture, it's gonna finish cooking in there. So do not cook your pasta to your normal desired doneness on the stovetop if you're baking. Ooh, can you see the light through that? Can you see how grainy it is? Oh my goodness gracious. Can you see the sort of grainy texture to it? It's really more a texture thing, so it's kind of hard to show you guys at home, but this has a very thick, gloopy, semi-grainy texture, and that is because we used pre-shredded cheese. As you can see, if you look very closely, it's all dusty, and that's because it's been coated in anti-caking agents, usually some sort of starch, like potato starch or cornstarch. And what this is both something to keep it from sticking, but it ends up being a thickener. These are things normally used to thicken liquids, so it's gonna end up screwing up your sauce. You do not wanna use this pretty much ever, but especially not in making a mac and cheese sauce.
What if you really hate shredding cheese, though?
If you really hate shredding cheese, why are you making mac and cheese? This doesn't seem like your wheelhouse. Make something else. Make cookies. You don't have to shred any cheese for cookies, unless they're cheese cookies. Okay, we got ourselves a smooth, creamy cheese sauce. So here's a big mistake that you can make is not testing your cheese sauce before putting it in your pasta. Taste test the cheese sauce, see where it's at. And it's super bland. It tastes like cheese, but not quite enough. So, how do you fix a bland sauce? Well, I'm gonna show you. There are a number of ways you can zhuzh up a bland sauce, including, but not limited to, hot sauce. A couple dashes will do you.
More like 4 streaks.
Or, a lot of mustard. Plenty of mustard. Mustard tastes cheesy, so if your cheese sauce doesn't taste cheesy enough, it's gonna bring a little acid. It's going to convince your mind that you're eating a cheesier sauce. A little bit of cayenne pepper. A little bit of heat is always welcome in my house of cheese. And a little secret ingredient, I like to add a bit of white miso. Let's see how that tastes. Ooh, that's really good, actually. That's quite good. I don't know why I'm surprised. I just added delicious things to it. That's the whole point. Really good, really good. Very, very good. It's good now. Okay. Well, looks pretty appetizing. Let's see what how it behaves. Okay, yeah, no, there we go. If you look closely at this cheese sauce, you'll see that there is oil on the bottom of the skillet and that there's a sort of clumping happening on the pasta itself. That's because we used aged cheese. This was heavily aged cheese, and once it was overheated in the oven, it ended up breaking. In other words, the fat separated from the cheese itself, leaving you with a clumpy sauce and a nice pool of oil at the bottom. So, what's the fix? If you want to add aged cheese for flavor, cut it with some younger cheese. Make sure that you're putting a very, very young, mild cheddar in there. That's gonna help keep things creamy and keep things from separating as such. All right, so you made your delicious cheese sauce, but it's a little pissy. I'm gonna just give you a few of those just to punish you for watching my show. Look at how thin and nasty it is, watery. What happened here? Well, I'll tell you. It was overheated. It was overheated because I kept heating it after I should have stopped. So here's the lesson, is once you have your bechamel where you want it to be, the right thickness, just a little bit heavier than cream, take it off the heat, then add the cheese. Let the residual heat melt the cheese, because if you overheat the cheese, the sauce is gonna break, and you end up with a watery layer on top and a sort of stretchy, oily layer on the bottom. All right, we've managed to screw up mac and cheese a lot. How do we take these 4 ingredients and put them together into a really good mac and cheese? Well, I'm gonna show you. It was stuck in it was like this, and I just couldn't abide that. I couldn't do it.
Kind of look.
No. I mean, anything's a look if you just call it a look. All right, so to make mac and cheese properly, you'll see I have a 2-pan station, one for cooking the pasta, one for making the sauce. Pasta water is ready and boiling before I start making a sauce, so that way we can go from one to the other uninterrupted. 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter in the pan. Medium heat until foaming. We'll see you when it's foam time. Just 1 minute, just give me a minute. This is foolish what I'm doing.
That's kind of cool.
But it's dumb. It's fine. I just licked the floor clean. Don't worry. Okay, butter's melted, foaming. In goes the flour, equal parts. So for 2 cups of milk, I've got 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour. A tablespoon of butter and flour per cup. It's pretty easy metric. You'll see that I'm whisking it both to break up any lumps or clumps that are forming, and really only for that reason. And I'm cooking it for about 1 minute. You want to cook until the raw flour smell dissipates. Every recipe says that. I've never smelled a raw flour smell in my life, so just cook it for a minute. This is where things get tricky. So I'm gonna start pouring it in little splashes at a time. This can be frustrating because when you pour it in, you can see, look, it clumps up. And you're like, uh-oh, I ruined it. But nope, that's what you want. Pour it in, let it clump up and turn into a paste. Once all the milk has been worked in, add a little more, whisk it in, and just keep going like that. Then towards the end, you can start to go a little faster. I'd say once the bottom of the pan is covered with bechamel, so that you're not seeing the bottom of the pan when you whisk it. And you see, we're towards the end here. When I'm whisking, I don't see the bottom of the pan, which means I can most likely just add the rest and not experience any problems. And look at that, nice and smooth, but not very thick. That's because we have to let it cook for about another minute or two. We want it to be the consistency of a very thick, luxurious, heavy cream. Now's a good time to add the pasta. This is gonna depend on the pasta that you're using. This stuff cooks in 5 minutes for some reason, so now's a good time to add. If you have a pasta that takes 9, 10, 12, 50 minutes to cook, add it earlier. The bechamel is bubbling. That is a good thing. We want just a bare simmer on the bechamel. We're just gonna cook it just a little bit, get it nice and thick. And if you're truly unsure of what consistency we're looking for, just grab a spoon like that. See how it coats the back of the spoon. We want, this state I believe is called nappe. It's a French term meaning one whose finger goes through a liquid on the back of a spoon and leaves a distinct trail. It's a beautiful language. Pasta's done actually a little early, so I'm going to kill the heat underneath the bechamel immediately. Add the cheese. I have 12 ounces of shredded cheddar that I shredded myself. I have a mix of mild cheddar and sharp cheddar. That's a young one and an old one. It's gonna help it melt more easily, but still give it lots of flavor. We're not gonna whisk this constantly. I'm just gonna sort of fold this in a la David Rose. Right about there, that looks nice. And then I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna let it sit for just a moment. This is gonna let the cheese melt super gently. Pasta's done, so I wanna get it in there as soon as possible. Luckily, this needs to basically finish mixing. It still has more mixing to do, so I can do that with the pasta in there. And the pasta's nice and hot, so it's going to help continue to melt the cheese. So I got the pasta, I'm gonna add a little whisper, probably about 2 tablespoons worth of pasta cooking water. Start to mix this guy and just watch them come together. Fold everybody together. Oh, baby. There we go. Base model mac and cheese. I'm also gonna add healthy squirt of mustard. I like to add about a teaspoon. A gentle sprinkle of cayenne pepper. You want it to just kind of give you a tickle. This isn't spicy mac and cheese. It's just going to wake up the flavor a little bit to add a little bit of heat. And of course, do not forget to salt. We got some salt in the cheese, we got some salt in the pasta cooking water, but for the most part, this is unseasoned, so you can go pretty generous right out of the gate. What I'm gonna do here, this is totally optional, but if your sauce is too thin, or if like me, you want it to be really porny and stretchy, after you've added the mac and everything while it's still nice and hot, I'm gonna add another healthy hit of shredded cheese. That was probably a solid 4 ounces. Just like we did with the first edition, I'm just gonna mix it so that it is evenly distributed throughout. Not mix it till it's melted, mind you. I just want it to be evenly spread throughout the nudes. And now, not only is that gonna thicken the sauce a little bit, this should end up being really stretchy, stringy, melty, which is my kind of mac and cheese. So now the shredded cheese has been mixed in there and I've let it sit for about 2 minutes. That's what I was looking for. And there you have it, folks. Absolutely perfect, unbelievably creamy, super cheesy, flavorful, properly cooked, properly seasoned, slightly spicy, tangy.
More adjectives.
I said creamy, filling. And there you have it, folks. Perfect mac and cheese, made the old-fashioned way without any grain or grit, without any separated proteins or fats, without any bullshit. It's just the original mac and cheese. There are definitely ways that you can make foolproof, easy, quick mac and cheese, but doing it the old-fashioned way by making a roux and a bechamel and turning that into a mornay and not having it end up gritty or grainy or fatty or separated, it's an accomplishment. This is like a true culinary mainstay. Now you have the skills to make a whole number of different dishes by being able to do this. And I don't know, just hits different. What can I tell you? Sorry, kid. Just right. So, hope you guys give it a try for yourselves. I hope this helps you avoid some pitfalls along the way. And please, comment what you want to see me screw up next, because that's what I'm doing anyway. Might as well record it.